return some videotapes.
Welcome to the regular Menthol podcast, where we discuss Kino movies. My name is Tate. My co-host is Chris.
Hello, hello.
We give a little thoughts on the movies, our experience with it. Then we discuss specific scenes that we like, followed up with a little Kino rating. I don't know what we're going to do with this movie.
What is this movie?
This movie
Never heard of it.
This week is American Psycho. Wow.
Oh, God. Have you ever seen the movie American Psycho?
Hey, bro, did you ever see American Psycho?
Well, give me a description of this thing, and then we're going to get into, a little Kino backstory of this movie.
I think that this movie is the Patrick Bateman, the main character, I tried to look up what he actually is in this movie, what his actual job is. He's a investment banker, but it's a search for authenticity and losing your mind when you can't find it anywhere around you. A serial killer investment banker struggles with the compulsion to kill, balanced with a hyper superficial social life, where he realizes that the people around him are completely fake. He ends up murdering more and more people, and in the end, he questions his sanity when he figures out that even though he confesses, no one actually believes him.
So this movie, I mean, holy smokes, this is an interesting one. It's somewhat gotten popular recently. I noticed these two chicks I was talking to at work that we work with, Colleen and Bree. They're both like, "Oh, that's one of my favorite movies of all time."
Really?
Like, really? From 2000. But I kind of tied it together. Do you think that this movie is popular because of all the recent tidal wave of serial killer shows and podcasts and murder mysteries and all that have gotten real big?
Yeah, probably.
So kind of bolster this movie up a bit.
Probably. Although I don't really see this movie as a serial killer movie. Although that's what it's kind of marketed as, and I guess that's would lead people who are into the true crime stuff to watch this movie. Like, ooh, serial killer. I don't think that's really what this is about. But yeah, probably. And then with guys, it's probably popular because of all the memes and everything.
Oh my God, dude. You want to talk about memes? My favorite meme of all time, period. There's a green text from 4chan where it says, it's Jared Leto who plays Paul Allen. He's looking over his shoulder about to catch the axe. And the green text says, "Patrick, it's you. You're the American Psycho." And then the first response is, "He never said that." So then someone made a video of it on YouTube and it says, "Patrick, it's you. You are the American Psycho." It's like maybe the funniest thing ever. I don't know.
That might have been the start of people making videos of a character saying something that he didn't say in the movie.
Oh my God, dude. There's so many of them. They're so good.
Like another popular one with Jared Leto was It's Morbin Time.
Yeah, that Morbius movie. It's Morbin Time. So this, I've heard a theory about this movie, right? And I heard this recently, that this movie is about a closeted gay guy. They're saying that Bateman's a closeted homosexual. And I did a little research on this, and it turns out that two of the writers are gay. There's 3 writers in this movie, and 2 of them are gay. The stance is Bateman hates women, and he demeans them throughout the whole movie, right? And he actually says closeted homosexual when he describes the whole Yale thing to Kimble about Paul Allen. The only argument that I would say against it is when he's going to choke out Lewis in the bathroom, and, Lewis turns around and like kind of embraces him, and he's like freaked out, and he goes and washes his gloves. This is such a hilarious scene. But I don't know. Did you ever hear this theory or have a take on that?
I'd probably heard it before. They say this about a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Where it's mostly just dudes.
That's true.
But to your point, the scene where he does choke out Lewis at the beginning, he starts choking him. That could even be used as an argument that this is a gay guy because he's closeted And once Lewis turns around and like comes onto him,
Mm-hmm.
he realizes everyone's gonna know that he's gay now because Lewis is coming onto him. So he kind of just quickly washes his hands and gets out of there.
Got to return some videotapes.
Yeah. But that's like, is Fight Club about gay guys?
Right. Yeah. Good point. Good point.
That was written by a gay guy as well.
Well,
And also another movie that involves some elements of, is this even happening for real?
yeah, man. Well, just to piggyback on the whole gay theory, I don't know if it is, but I'd say at the very least, this is definitely about a guy who's not comfortable in his own skin, right? So he's
100%.
constantly trying to fit in, and I get the vibe that he just doesn't even enjoy his daily life.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. That you could see the parallel with someone who is a closeted gay man and someone who is a serial killer, because what's going on is their surface level persona they know is fake and their subconscious is rebelling against it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's causing their inner person that they really are to burst forth in ways that are destructive.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
So I guess in a lot of ways people are picking up on, like, this is a closeted serial killer.
Right. Right.
This is a closeted psycho who is rebelling against his artificial world that he's in.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so you could see like the parallels there.
Well, let me ask you this: what was the first time you saw this movie?
I don't remember. I remember. I think I watched this on TV. So this is part of my stay up till 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning and watch movies all night era.
Right.
Maybe 2002. And I have kind of a memory of maybe I watched this on the USA Network at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Well,
remember the USA Network?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Well, this is before I had the high speed internet in my house on a laptop.
Right.
So like if I wanted to go on the internet, I'd have to go in my parents' room and they were asleep. So I couldn't go on the internet all night. And then eventually my dad got a laptop and I could just go, and that stopped all movie watching up to 3 o'clock in the morning. I used to literally watch DVDs of just the same movies over and over.
This is insane.
Yeah.
Relatable. I think for me, the first time I watched this, I can't really remember. I would say early to mid 2000s. And here we go again, folks. This is another 2000 era movie, right? All we've had so far is 90s and early 2000s movies up to, I think, 2012. But we will have next week an 80s movie in Gleaming the Cube.
Oh,
for any Christian Slater fans out there. But, yeah, I remember just the first time I watched it was just like, it wasn't as popular, I guess. Or maybe it was, who knows. But I just remember being like an interesting movie. I was like, okay, But I wasn't aware of the memes that would come from this movie.
Dude, it's so funny you say that. That vibe, there was a time where no one was like super into this movie. This was a less well-known movie.
Right.
Christian Bale was not a super well-known actor. He did like a couple things before this. Right. He wasn't an A-list actor. This is before Batman and everything. And not many people were in on this. And then the people were like, oh my God, this is the funniest and most insane movie. And it became popular through the internet.
There's some good parts to this. Well, as far as the literally me character, let me start. Because I know who you're going to say. You're going to say Bryce. You're Bryce. But in fact, I think you're Bateman. In every sense of it. You could be Bateman with like slight Bryce tendencies. For me, I don't really know. I didn't latch on to anybody except for Marcus Halberstram because I'm more of a Halberstram guy, only because I mean, the guy doesn't have any lines except for he walks across camera and you just see his goofy face, but that's the guy who spoke to me.
This movie became so popular in meme culture and on the internet and everything that Halberstram became something of a meme himself. And he's just in the movie for like a split second.
Dude. Oh man, it's so good. Anyway, who are you? Who's
I
the
mean,
winner? Are you?
I said Bryce, not really thinking about it too much because I think Bryce is probably my favorite character.
He's
But
good.
upon watching it again, I get why you're saying that I'm Bateman because he says stuff with such like artificial
Conviction.
charm. And you know what I mean? Like when it's a silly situation, it's an absurd situation they're in, and he says stuff that's just so artificial. I'm like, I
Yeah.
can kind of identify with that because I'll do that sometimes. People will come in our room or whatever, and I'll give them this artificial charm. Like, I don't want to talk to you, but I have to. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you this artificial charm, so you kind of subconsciously realize that I don't want to talk to you.
Unbelievable. Facts. Let's get into some Kino scenes here. All right, so we start off here, intro. Bateman and his friends are having dinner at a nice restaurant, and they go to a nightclub afterwards, right? Opening scene dialogue is absolutely epic. He's like, they don't have a good bathroom to do coke in. Like, the dialogue in this movie alone is just, one thing that I took note of was, if you notice, like every line is delivered, right, in such a weird way. It's like very direct. And it makes me wonder if the director wasn't having the actors kind of deliver it a little over the top that way.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just seems crazy. Do you get that
Yeah.
vibe?
Yeah, totally. And it's like an artificial world. It seems very foreign to the world that we live in. And they say it in such a matter of fact way that and they're talking about doing coke in a bathroom. You know what I mean? Like it's so just blasé for them, but you're hearing it and you're like, they just said what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it I don't know. You'd have to imagine that they did get direction to be like, just over. This is a over the top thing, but just say it with kind of conviction and just be very direct with it.
Yeah. It's like they go to this restaurant after that, right, to meet Evelyn's cousin, and Bryce gives Patrick the menu and he walks in and he's like, the menu's in Braille. It's just like the way he just delivers that line. It's so hilarious to me.
And he doesn't even react to it.
It's just so weird. I don't know. It's just a random thing. But so then Patrick says this whole like spiel that he has about world peace and, nuclear weapons and whatnot. And he says, we need to end terrorism. I don't know if you call it that, but this movie's from 2000, right? Was the term terrorism mainstream before 9/11?
Yeah, it was. And
was it? I don't remember.
Right before, but I remember a couple things in the terrorism world that it started to become more of a thing after Timothy McVeigh, and then Bin Laden or Al Qaeda, they bombed some boat.
Okay.
I forget, they bombed a boat or something, and that was the big terrorism thing before, where they were trying to introduce you to Middle Eastern terrorists.
Right.
Right. But even, this movie, it takes place in the 80s too. So I don't know what was going on in the 80s, I guess.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. So it's showing through the lens of it being in the 80s.
I guess terrorism was a thing in the 80s,
well,
but I don't get the impression that it would be.
No,
I don't even know if there like super woke people in the 80s. I don't remember.
I don't even know. But if you remember, at the end of the movie, they have the Ronald Reagan on TV, and he's speaking, right?
Mm-hmm.
I forget what he's talking about, but I don't know if that has anything to do with aggression or whatnot.
Yeah, there was different wars going on. The Cold War was going on, obviously. But I don't remember terrorism in the way that we think about it. It could have been in some other context, Grenada or something. I don't know exactly what was going on back then.
Yeah.
But they brought it up in the movie, though. And when he's saying all that stuff, Like, I'm watching this almost immediately in this film. Bateman starts virtue signaling to his friends.
Mhm.
Correct. Like, there's the line where he goes, "Cool it with the anti-Semitism,"
Yeah.
right? It's like his friend responds, "Oh, I forgot Bateman's dating someone from the ACLU," implying his so-called virtue in this case is, completely manufactured. He's seeing through
Right.
Bateman's nonsense.
Yeah.
But the idea that they have the most virtue signaling character in this movie be
Mhm.
a serial killer,
Yeah. It's good.
it's a nice little critique that I'm not sure that would be allowed in movies today.
Yeah.
Um, like he gets to this bar. This is like the juxtaposition between Bateman's mask and his true self is so insane and extreme
Mhm.
that we'll get to this later, but you realize that a lot of this stuff's a manifestation of his imagination.
Right.
Like he gets to this bar. This is like a perfect example, and it happens right in the beginning. He gets to this bar, goes to the bartender. She's like, "This is a cash bar."
He tries to give her like those tickets.
Yeah. She just pulls out like a giant wad of cash, and he has this super artificial smile on his
Yeah.
face when
Yeah.
he's still face to face with her. And then she turns around, and immediately he's like, "You're an ugly bitch.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stab you to death."
And play around in your blood.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, he's real. I'm a nice guy on the surface.
Right.
And then immediately his inner thoughts come out. But that's like, you find out pretty much that's what happens in this whole movie is all that stuff going on is just his inner thoughts and it's not really happening. Or is it? I don't know. It's kind of more ambiguous in this movie about what
Yeah.
is actually real and what's not.
I think I looked it up and it's not that the writers specifically said that it's imagination or not, but they left it some ambiguity to it, and they never really determined in concrete said it's dream or he's imagining it. They don't want that to be the case, but there's some parts where he's shooting the gun at the cops and the cop cars blow up.
Yeah.
After like 2 shots, so he looks at the gun even, which is a tell, right? And he looks at the gun and it's like, what? So
yeah,
there's parts of this where,
it.
yeah, we'll get to that later. It's kind of that whole ending sequence there where he's on the run and just murdering people. But,
this is his whole thing during this movie is he's trying to find some kind of authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
He can't find it in anyone. All of his friends are these completely fake people, but he
know who he finds it in? Were you about to say it?
I think it's Bryce.
Nah, I disagree.
Because he just does say one interesting thing. He goes to that Espace place where he meets his the goth people at his table, and he goes, Bryce is the only interesting person he knows.
I caught that, but the person that I think is Gein, his secretary.
Yeah.
Because she's the only one that actually takes him serious and isn't just talking past him. Like Reese Witherspoon does such a good job in this movie of just not even paying attention to him. Like when they're I know we're jumping around a little bit, but when they're at dinner and he breaks up with her and he's talking and she just like doesn't even pay attention to him. She's just pretending to listen. And she looks over at her friend's like wrist and she has this new watch on or something. And she's like telling her how much she loves it, like mouthing it to her. But I think that Gein is the only character who actually sees him and he notices that. And that's not the reason he doesn't kill her. I think it's because the phone rings and Evelyn calls, but he gives her the chance to leave. And he's like, yeah, I think if you stay, something bad will happen. Yeah. But I think he kind of has a soft spot for her eventually.
Mm-hmm. And you remember Evelyn is on that answering machine and she says something super cringe. She's like, I know you hate that. And his face is just like, oof.
Yeah.
And now she heard that and he, in his mind, he's like, Gein is actually a real person that can see through me.
Right.
Exactly.
That's how I took
but there's Gein and Bryce. I guess Bryce, the way I looked at Bryce was Bryce is this guy that says goofy stuff, but he actually means it.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's pretty insane as it is,
Yeah. Makes sense. Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if we would we could discuss these scenes an hour each,
Yeah.
and it would take up a lot of time. But the next thing we're just gonna roll right forward to is they introduce Paul Allen,
Oh yeah.
and
So the you have the business card scene right here with Paul Allen. Pretty popular scene, if I'm sure, for people who love this movie. But lot going on in this scene. But it's so the best part of this whole scene is when Van Patten steps in and he's like, "That's nothing, Bateman. Check this out." And he shows him the card, and they all start fawning over Van Patten's card. And once they start doing that, Van Patten just gives like this little smirk. It's like a half like side of the mouth smirk. It's so good, dude.
the subtleties in the way they're doing these little facial expressions in this movie might be the best of all movies. This might be the number one facial expression movies because they're so subtle. Like you said, Van Patten, it's like he just has this little smirk and it's like, yeah, I won. And Bateman's pissed. And he's
noticeably like, pissed, yeah.
I can't believe they think Van Patten's card's better or whatever. And it's just, yeah, there's just like these little subtleties and they hurt these guys so much.
Oh, dude, yeah, there's so many with Bateman in this movie. Even in the same scene where, he's like, he's obviously distraught. And then he's like, let's see Paul Allen's card. And he's like quivering his voice. It's just done so well, man. It's great. Like, this is the only thing that actually he cares about, right? It's like, that's it.
It's funny because when he says that, let's see Paul Allen's card, the rest of them like slink back and have this look on their face like, oh shit, he's asking to see Paul Allen's card. And like, they're taking it super seriously. Like, I can't believe you just said that. And Bryce has the card and he's pulling it out and he's like looking around like, is this safe? It's so absurd, but all their facial expressions it's like, what kind of reality are we in where this is happening?
Guys with too much time on their hands and no real responsibility. Like, that's it. That's their life.
Like Van Patten pulls his card out, and I love Bryce's line where he goes, he says, "How
did nitwit like you get so tasteful?"
Yeah. He goes, Jesus, that's really super. How did nitwit like you get so tasteful? I was watching some gun tuber on YouTube randomly, and he just threw that line in to one of his videos. And I'm like, oh my God, I get that reference.
Yeah, no, this scene is all-time stuff. But there's, Patrick and Paul are at dinner in the one scene. And it's a place where Paul obviously doesn't approve. And he's like, this is a real beehive of activity here, Halberstram. This place is hot. Like, that's such a good line. I just use that line, like, regularly in my repertoire.
Real beehive activity here, Halberstram.
This place is hot. It's, dude, yeah. There's just so many good one-liners, and just
the waiter comes over, and
oh yeah,
he's arguing with Paul Allen about stuff on the menu, and Paul Allen's already pissed. So Bateman like picks up on that energy and runs with it, and the waiter's like, do you want to hear any specials? And he goes like, not if you want to keep your spleen. And then does this kind of motion with his hands.
Yeah.
Like his hands are crossed and he like points them out as if get away. But just the way it looks and everything.
Yeah. He doesn't look at the waiter, right? He just keeps his head down and he's like raises his eyebrows like, that's your cue to leave, dude. If you want to keep your spleen. Like, it's so good. But in that same scene, Paul's like, he's like, that's an amazing tan, Marcus. Where do you go? And he's like, I go to a salon. And then he goes back. Paul says, I have my own tanning bed at my house. You should look into it. And just, it pans back to Bateman, and just his look on his face of like defeat is pretty wild. because he already gave it away. He can't lie to him and say, I have a tanning bed too, because he said it first that he went to a salon. He's like, why? And he one-upped him. He's like, well, I have one in my apartment. And just the look on Bateman's face is, when
I was watching this earlier today, I was like, why does Bateman kill Paul Allen? All the reason why he kills him is kind of like, it's all this superficial stuff. Right. But a man like Bateman, who has everything and doesn't seemingly have to work, he just sits in his office all day doing nothing, listening to music. And this is a guy who has everything. So with someone who has more and is one-upping him, it hurts his soul. It really hurts him that Paul Allen is better than him.
Right.
At his own game. And there's a point where in the dinner that they're having where Paul Allen is mistaking him for this guy Halberstram. And at one point they're talking about Cecilia and all that. And he mentions Patrick. He's like, oh yeah, she's with that loser Patrick Bateman. And you could see the hurt on Bateman's face for a split second.
Gives one of those smiles.
He gives a smile, and it's like at that exact moment that he decides, I'm going to kill this dude. Yeah. And then he's like, another drink, Paul.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
He's like, yep, he made the decision right there. I'm going to kill this guy.
Yeah, no, for sure. Then you have, oh, dude, the best. Kimble visits Patrick, right? Mm-hmm. So Kimble, played by Willem Dafoe, is, peak in this movie. It's like he comes in, and the way Patrick gets off the phone before meeting Kimble is one of my favorite parts. He's like, okay, John, right? Got it. It's like, I don't know why. I just think that shit's so funny. But Patrick tells Kimble the address, and Kimble's like, no, like, he's like, what's your address? And he tells him where he lives. He's like, nice. Very nice. Patrick's like, thanks, with a little smirk. And then immediately, you kind of have to pause it, right? When this happens. I know you and I have noticed this before, but he's like, has this smirk and this like proud face, and then his like eyebrows narrow, and he gets this like grimace on his face. And it's just for a split second. Like I said, you might have to pause it or rewind it, but it's just so wild looking that you talk about crazy faces. This movie might be it.
Yeah, I remember you and I sat in the office one day and rewound this for like 5 minutes, rewatching it over and over again, because this is intentional. This is intentional acting. The way he did this, he's saying it like, thanks, and then it gets super serious again. Yeah. And it's like he has to play the guy who is innocent, who is thanking this guy for a genuine compliment, but then has to lock back in and kind of get serious because he has to pretend to not know who killed this guy.
Right. That's a good take on it.
He's on the phone when the detective comes in, and he's like talking to this guy, but he's not talking to anyone. He's just making up a conversation. Why? Like, it's not known.
Just wants to look busy, I guess.
He wants to look busy, but like it's unnecessary. What does the detective care? Yeah, his lying in this movie is so absurd and over the top, and he's very bad at lying. And then so he's making up a phone conversation, and then at the end he just drops this line of okay, got it. Like that makes no sense in the context of the phone conversation that he was making up already.
Yeah, it's funny because he's talking to him, just joking about, tipping the barber, but not the salon owner, and it's kind of just like a jovial conversation. And then he just gets serious, like, okay, John, right, got it. Why? Yeah. It's just. But one thing about Dafoe that I think I heard before was, I mean, he's only got a couple scenes, right? And he's typically, it's all throughout, it's just him interviewing or questioning Bateman. But I did hear that they shot it 3 different ways, right? So they had Willem Dafoe do 3 different styles in his delivery. And what they did was they just kind of blended them all together. So they would just cut. Like, it wouldn't even be the same, in succession for the scene. They would just use different styles of the way he was delivering the lines. So that's why it makes it just 10 times more insane.
Yeah, like one was skeptical, one was neutral.
Yeah.
And one was like, he doesn't believe Bateman has anything to do with it.
Right. And they just kind of chopped them together. Mm-hmm. Which is pretty funny.
He has this one line in this scene where Patrick says, "But did anyone see him in London?" To which Kimble responds, "Actually, yes." And it cuts back to Patrick, and he has this look. He has this look on his face, like a split second, his eyes go wide because he's realizing, oh, that's surprising because the guy should be dead because I killed him. Mm-hmm. Why would anyone have seen him in London? This is an advantage for me. And then quickly goes back to locking in again.
Yep.
And it's like, if the detective was actually paying attention to him, they would be like, this guy is so suspicious. He's number one suspect in my mind.
Yeah, it's wild. It's a good scene. But then you have, he goes and gets the chick Christy, which you see a couple times in the movie, like off the street, and he has her back to his place, and she's in the tub. And this is like it's just another Bateman thing where he kind of starts splashing her, right, in the tub, and it seems like he's actually having a good time. Then the phone rings, and he just locks right back in, just like in his office, and he gets like super serious. It's just like it's just so random. I don't know, like the point to it. I guess it's just kind of to flesh out the fact that he's like this lunatic.
Yeah, that doesn't make as much sense though. Like that one where you're just seeing him go like splash, 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 splash.
It's so weird.
The phone rings and he just he whips his head, and he's super serious. Like it's like, what is going on in this scene?
Dude, it's a hodgepodge of just insane stuff throughout this whole movie.
This scene though, this is where I saw what you're talking about, where I'm Bateman, where he orders a hooker and she shows up, and then he goes like, "You've arrived! How lovely! Let me take your coat." Like, this is a guy that I guess is gonna do something weird to this hooker, like kill her or something. And it's so like, obviously she's arrived. You ordered her there.
Yeah, dude, he's just over the top. I think that's what it is. It's just he has to be over the top because he's like socially awkward, but he's not really. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not like Driver from Drive awkward. You know what I mean? He's just wearing a mask.
Yeah, it's not as bad. He's wearing a mask, and the real him is buried underneath. And when you're doing that, it's like, at any point, you don't ever want the people that you're interacting with to know the real you.
Right.
You don't want that to come out in friendly conversation. So you're constantly like living a lie. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to keep up with all that. So that's why you're eventually you go crazy, and like the monster comes out.
Right.
If you bury it down long enough, it just comes out eventually.
Yeah, and there's another scene there later where Patrick's sitting with Van Patten and McDermott, and he's like, "You know what Ed Gein said about women?" And then he goes into this whole thing about, how he wants to see their head on the stick, and he just starts laughing like uncontrollably. So like that's another example where the mask is kind of slipping off, right? And it's just, but in that same scene, Van Patten responds, "Ed Gein, the maitre d' at Canal Bar," and it's like, all these people care about is, do they know this person, like status? And it's just like hilarious throughout the whole movie. You see like 100 examples of that.
Yeah, a lot of times in this movie, someone will be like, "Is that so?"
Yeah, exactly.
In the background.
Hilarious.
His face when he says what her head would look like on a stick, he like does this like arches his head back. He's like, and like starts like laughing, like ah.
The mask,
and he assumes that they're just gonna get it, and the other two look at him like, "What is this dude talking about?"
They look at each other, they make eye contact, like, "What, dude?" It's so good. But then, yeah, that leads to the bathroom scene that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
He goes to strangle Lewis, right? And he spins around. He starts coming on to him. And then he just runs over and washes the gloves. I'm like, this is just such a funny scene.
He's washing his hands with gloves on.
Yeah. And he's like, Patrick, where are you going? It's like, I got to return some videotapes. It's just such a good line. It's unbelievable. So then you have Kimble is back at Patrick's office again. And he's like, do you recall where you were on the night of Paul's disappearance, which would have been December 20, right? So this is probably weeks after he's been gone. And dude, his response is, he's like reaching for his planner and he goes, God, I guess I was probably returning some videotapes. What, dude? He says the videotape line is like well known and it's hilarious, but he doesn't even think twice, and that's his response to this detective. It's so good.
Well, it's so crazy that when you're watching this, you have to start asking questions of what is actually going on. Is this reality? Is this his imagination? There's places that used to exist, kids, called video stores where you could rent videotapes, like VHS tapes, and watch a movie. And then you would have to return them in 2 days. So I don't know why this dude is obsessed with telling people that he has to return some videotapes. I've literally never said that in my life. And I've gone to video stores many times. But it's funny. It's like his way of getting out of an awkward situation.
He doesn't want the late fee. He doesn't want the late fee.
Yeah.
You know?
And in this situation, he's in his office, trapped by the detective. And he's like, where? Right. It's such like, it's his default mode, his default thing of what to say to get out of an awkward conversation or situation. And he just defaults right back to it when the detective asks where he was on a certain date. And it makes absolutely zero sense that he would just remember that he was returning videotapes on this date while reaching for his book of what he was doing on those days.
Right. Well, I guess I would have been returning videotapes.
Yeah. That's why you have to be like, is this fake?
Right.
But Kimble, he said that in that conversation, Patrick doesn't even know if Kimble is onto him or not.
Mm-hmm.
And as he's leaving, he whips out this Huey Lewis in the News album and asks Bateman if he's ever heard it. This is the album that he was listening to when he killed Paul Allen.
Right.
Like, he just responds completely. I love this. He responds completely deadpan. Never. He never listened to him. And then he goes, I don't like singers.
Yeah.
And then he goes, he sounds a little too black for me. To which Kimble is like,
to each their own.
To each their own. But it's like those three lies. It's like they were all just completely unnecessary. Like anyone who's quick thinking or whatever could just be like, oh yeah, I did listen to it. It's a good album.
Well, that's what, and we'll get into this in a little bit, but that's what makes me question about, there's the ending scene there. It seems like where he goes on the killing spree, that didn't happen. Right.
Yeah.
But it begs the question, did this happen?
Right.
Where he shows him the CD and it's like, was this all just in his head? Like, or he just never killed Paul Allen and that just happened to be in his mind that if he would have done it, he would have been playing Huey Lewis in the News. And in reality, right, Kimble Kimble wouldn't have been there. Correct? So this is all just made up in his head.
I don't know. So like, if he really let's imagine this for a second.
Well, but the thing is, Paul Allen's still alive.
Exactly. So this is my personal interpretation of what is going on in this movie. Is every time there's some kind of weird murder going on,
right?
It's not real.
Yeah, he's imagining it because he has like bloodthirsty tendencies, right? And he needs to fulfill that or whatever. But that's a good point. It's just happening in his brain, and he's just kind of piecing it out.
Like Paul Allen might have left unexpectedly.
There you go.
And gone to London.
Because he does, because his what's his name? His lawyer tells him it's impossible because I was just with Paul Allen.
Yeah. Now even this is ambiguous because none of these people know who each other are and mistake each other for someone else multiple times throughout this movie. So you don't actually know. It's not actually good evidence that someone saw Paul Allen in London.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But it's arguable whether these detective scenes are real or not, because any kind of detective would see this behavior from Bateman and be like, something is super suspicious about this guy.
Yeah.
But my personal interpretation is that anything with crazy murdering going on is fake.
Right.
And everything else going on is real. And it's just his, like, it's him having to deal with the superficiality of it all.
Mm-hmm. It's a good point. But it does show that it could be, the whole Kimble thing could be real. Because what he says is the family's concerned, they want to keep it quiet, right? So let's hypothetically say that he just did go to London, right? It's very possible. And Kimble's trying to track him down.
Yeah.
So it's very possible. And then he shows him the CD and he's like, wait, how does he know about the CD that Huey Lewis in the news? Where in his head, he just made up this whole thing where he murders Paul Allen, but it actually doesn't happen.
Exactly. I just we're kind of jumping around a bit, but after this, he's a bit on edge, and then he goes to a bar with Bryce. He goes to a nightclub with Bryce, and him and Bryce are in the bathroom stall doing coke, and some dude in the next stall tells him to keep it down. He's trying to do drugs, and Bryce just starts flipping out on him.
Yeah, he jumps over the stall.
And then Bateman, like, pulls him back down, and then Bryce is like, sorry, dude. Sorry, steroids.
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 Sorry, man. Steroids. Dude, so good. Yeah. Bryce is, like, the best secondary character in this movie, for sure.
And he's also got a great look. He's got this slick back.
Oh, yeah.
He's got, like, short, slick back hair and, like, just crazy looking eyes.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of like this smarmy prick.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And he's just very funny to me. I don't know. Steroids. But it's in that scene, though, like, Bateman is talking to this girl. He starts hitting on this girl, I guess, getting in a conversation with her. And then they're outside. And it cuts to them being outside where Bateman's getting in a cab. And she's like, you think I'm dumb, don't you? And he answers, no, I really don't. But it's obviously him being fake.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously his fake persona. And it's just the most artificial face ever. And she goes, that's all right. There's something sweet about you, though. And I'm like, dude, this is real. This is actually a real good scene, because I feel like if you are convinced, you convince yourself of the character in your head,
right?
You can just do anything. Like, you keep this artificial facade going on long enough, people just go along with whatever it is that that you're doing. He does this, like, the whole movie. I guess it's part of the point of the movie here. And if you're just able to fake being personable, it's as good as actually being personable.
It's true. It's a good point. Yep.
And it won't work on everyone, I guess, but I feel like, and call me nuts, but I feel like people are just, everyone around me is crazy. And we didn't know about it.
Facts.
Until a few years ago.
Facts. You are the American Psycho.
Yeah. So, like, if you just, what's he say in the cab in the beginning of the movie? He just wants to fit in.
Right.
That's what this whole thing is about. This he can't fit in, though, because he can see through everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And he has to fit in by being this basically liar.
Yeah.
And I'm watching this girl just goes along with him. And I'm like, if you just have this persona, people just go along with you, dude.
You gonna adopt the Bateman persona?
I'm gonna download his new personality unlocked. I'm downloading the Bateman persona right now.
So he then has lunch with Kimble. This is, you want to talk about wild faces. But dude, it starts off and Patrick's like legit sweating, right? And he's like super nervous, look on his face. And he tries to fit in by using the salt shaker after Kimble does. And he's like shaking all over the place when he's not looking at it. But dude, talk about epic faces. The scene, right? Where it's pretty memeable, where Dafoe like taps his head when he's like, oh yeah, you remember?
Dummy.
But just Bateman's face in the scene, it's so, nervous, and it just reads so like authentic.
Yeah, he's glistening with sweat.
Yeah.
At this point, because he's kind of terrified that this guy is onto him at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really know whether he is, because Bateman, again, the most suspicious behavior possible, asks him like, hey, well, where was Halberstram?
Mm-hmm.
He's like asking the guy
Where's
to tell him information to be able to lie to him. And then he's, oh yeah, like I forgot.
He does that through all the interviews where it's like, well, where did they put me? Where were they? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just it's so ridiculous. That's why it seems almost fake. And
but you don't know, because Kimble he kind of responds in a way that is like, well, where do you think? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And eventually gives up the information. And at one point he's like, I just think the guy went crazy and went off to London or whatever. And Bateman starts to get more relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the actual part of the movie where you start questioning whether this is happening or not, because this guy, you can't believe that this detective is buying this stuff at this point.
Yeah.
And then, you're like, what is going, like, how could this guy be buying this? Right. And then immediately it goes to,
well, then he goes on his killing spree, which this is for me, we always talk about, dream sequences in movies, right? This to me is where this is just in his head, not necessarily a dream sequence, but he's just kind of going crazy. So like he's at the ATM and he's going to put this stray cat in, right? So he pulls out a gun. And can I get a quick loadout check there? What are we working with?
This is a Glock 17, which at the time was a relatively new gun. I believe they released them in the 80s.
Yeah.
In the mid 80s. The Gen 1s. I believe that was, I don't know, 85 or something. But, Bateman, he's rich, so he's going to have the latest tech. He's going to have the latest gear.
Yeah. He just pulls that.
Right?
And then the best part is that, so he's going around shooting everybody, right? And he's in the downstairs of the one apartment building and he's running out the door. It's like a revolving door. And he just hears the elevator go off and the janitor's coming out, and he's just enough time to hear it ding. And he just zips right back through the revolving door and just shoots him from afar. Dead aim too, like dead eye. And he just zips right back out the door. It's so good.
This is where it becomes completely obvious that something weird is going on in this movie, because he shoots the woman. The ATM machine is telling him on screen to put a stray cat into it.
Right.
And you're like, what? What's he say? So at first you're like, oh, this is his homicidal tendencies coming out in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
But then a woman's like, hey, you can't do that. And he shoots her. And then the cops come and he gets in a shootout with the cops. And it's almost too easy for him. He just dips out of the way and then stands back up, shoots one cop, and then starts shooting the cars, and the cars blow up.
Yeah, but the telling, like I said before, the teller there is where he looks at the gun.
Yes.
Almost confused, correct. Like, what?
He's the audience at that point.
Right. Yeah.
He's sharing that with the audience, where as an audience, you're watching this, you're like, he just blew up 2 cars with a Glock. That's not impossible. And he himself looks at the gun like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And, but this is like, I just came off of watching Fight Club a couple years before, where at one point there's a very distinct point in the movie where you're like, what's going on in this movie? Something weird's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm watching this movie and I'm like, are we getting the same situation, a Fight Club situation here, where I don't know what's real in this movie and what's not?
Yep.
And yes, that is exactly what's going on.
Yep. When did Fight Club come out?
That came out in 99.
Was it 99? But
I watched it in probably 2000, like a year later, because for whatever reason, like it wasn't popular in the theaters when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And it got popular later on. But I remember exactly where I was and exactly the moment that I remember where I was like, something weird is going on. And it like clicked in my brain that something is and then this is the exact same thing where I'm watching. Obviously, it's a little bit more obvious, but in this movie, I'm right here. You're like, if you can't tell something weird's going on when he blows up these cars with a Glock, that's you have to kind of be like, oh boy. But then the obvious next thought is, what in this movie is real and what is not real?
Mm-hmm.
Now I have to go back and reanalyze the whole movie that I just watched because I don't know what's real or not.
It's hard to say. Because then he calls his lawyer and divulges that he's killed like 20 or maybe 40 people. Right? And then the best is the line at the end where he's like, so yeah, I don't know, keep your eyes open. What, dude?
It is his range in that phone call is fantastic.
Oh, it's a good point.
He goes from trying to act normal to completely losing his mind to saying he's eaten these people's brains.
Yeah.
And then to bringing it back and acting normal and be like, so I'll meet you at Harry's. Keep your eyes open. Like, what? Completely unhinged phone call.
Yeah, it's
absolutely incredible.
Epic. But then he sees his lawyer, right? The next day at Harry's, right? And it's like in the middle of the conversation, his lawyer, Harold, he sees someone and goes, is that Edward Towers? And he just walks away. It's like 3 different times where Bateman like grabs him and pulls him back. But just that whole concept throughout this movie where people were just, is that whoever? Is that whoever? And they just like walk away mid-conversation. It's so epic.
Yeah, what was the point of that? Like, what do you think they were trying to say with that?
Well, I guess the only, reasonable, the only reason to put it in would be they're trying to show that Harold isn't really buying the story. It's just a joke. And he's like, hey, man, I don't really care. All right, it was a funny joke. And then he just doesn't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
It's not that he's trying to get away from him. He's just like, okay, I could be talking to someone more important.
I guess, is that what rich people do? They're impressed by seeing some random person.
I don't know, but I guess they're all just socialites, and that's all they do. They're having cocktail hour every single night, right? And then, then you have Van Patten when they're sitting down. He's like, "Where do we have a reservation?" He's like, "I'm not that hungry, but I want to have a reservation somewhere." Yeah. Like, this is just every night. It's just cocktail hour and then a reservation somewhere. So I guess I don't know. They're just socialites. I don't know.
That's what originally I was like, what does this guy actually do for a living? Because it seemingly he just sits in his office, listens to there's not one point in this movie where he's actually doing any work.
Right.
He's going to lunch every day. He's got multiple appointments to go to lunch and dinner. He's going to nightclubs. He's doing drugs. He's up to 5 o'clock in the morning. What's he actually do? Does anyone know?
Evelyn says it to him. She says, your dad owns a company. You don't even have to go in the office.
Yeah.
So it's just like a fake made up job. But it begs the question. It begs the question, do these other guys actually have to work?
Great point. I was going to say it leads to the superficiality of this whole thing even more, is that he doesn't even have to be there.
Yeah.
He's just doing this. This is just what he does. He goes in.
He's just trying to fit in. I would err on the side of he's the one because his dad owns a company. He doesn't have to do anything. Whereas, Paul Allen's running the Fisher account, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lucky bastard. And, so seemingly these other guys are actually working, but Bateman's just trying to fit in, right?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to be the outcast who everyone's like, oh, your dad owns a company. You're just a loser. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the vibe I get.
Yeah. Talk to me about your Kino rating for this movie.
I'll tell you what. After watching it again, I haven't watched this in a long time, and I'm going to go with a 7.7. A little lower than I would have thought I would have given it, before rewatching it again today. And it's definitely a great movie. It's a classic, but I don't know, man. Watching it back, I think I wouldn't necessarily say it's overhyped, but it certainly isn't peak Kino to me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's good. It's great. But it's just, to me, it's not like a top tier movie. It's very memeable. You know what I mean? I think since the memes made it popular, if that makes sense.
Well, what did you give Assassination? It was higher than this, correct?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I gave it like a 9 because it's my favorite
that's
movie
your
of all
movie.
time. Yeah.
Like, I could see what you're saying. Like, for me, like, I give this movie a 9, possibly a 10.
Whoa. Holy smokes.
And I
hope I didn't offend you.
No, absolutely not. I'm thinking to myself, though, what does it even look like to like a movie better than this? And I'll kind of flesh that out a little bit. This movie, I'm watching it again today, and I'm laughing at every scene. And I could watch this every day and continue to laugh at every scene all the time. The replayability for this movie,
right? That makes sense, yeah, because that's like your thing is the funny faces, and it makes sense. Okay, fair enough.
But it's not. It's like I find it funny on 2 levels. Is that one, this character portraying this goody two shoes, not a goody two shoes, but like he's trying to be a normal person.
Right.
That is funny to me because I can kind of relate to it. But on another level is that the actor, Christian Bale, came up with all this stuff as like his idea of what this character should be.
Right.
So him acting in a way to act normal, and the way he does it is it's funny because it's like he came up with this character to act normal, and he's acting in a way that someone would act to act normal.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Inception.
Yes. It's the inception of acting normal.
And I just think this is like one of the funniest movies.
It's certainly funny.
I don't know if it's meant to be, but to me, it's funnier than a lot of movies that we think of as, the top funny movies.
Right.
Like, I would rate this as one of my funniest movies that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd get a lot of people to agree with that, but I see exactly what you're saying. That's your humor. To a degree, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
like, you think that's funny. I think it's funny. That's why they're memes for sure.
That's why they're memes, and yeah, when you see a reaction image and it's Bateman making one of these faces, because you can use it in so many ways. I mean, we didn't even talk about it, but there's a million memes from this movie, but a lot of them are reaction facial expressions.
Mm-hmm.
Because the fakeness with which he's acting, trying to be a normie, is a perfect reaction to someone saying something dumb online.
Right. Yeah.
And just one other thing I'll throw in. There's another fantastic movie that I love that is somewhat under the radar. I don't know if many people know. I mean, people know about it, but it's not a super popular movie, called Rules of Attraction.
Yeah.
With James Van Der Beek.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in the same universe as this movie. That's Bateman's brother.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
If you watch that movie, you will see the exact same humor and acting style from Van Der Beek. He's trying to be Christian Bale. because he's his brother or whatever. I don't know if
Right.
it's an intentional thing or what, but if you
I've
go
only
into
seen
that
that like
movie,
once or twice, yeah. But I remember
if you
that.
look at that movie, his facial expressions in that movie are completely unhinged and insane in a very similar way that this movie is. And I'm like, damn, dude, Vanderbeek actually, that's
As
a better
range.
sequel. Yeah, 100%, dude. 100%. That's a better sequel to American Psycho than the actual sequel that is complete garbage.
Patrick, it's you. You are the American Psycho.
Anywho, there we have it, folks. I mean, American Psycho, obviously, go out and see it. I think
Yeah.
it's the funniest movie.
That's a good one.
God bless, folks. Take care.
We'll catch you in the next one.